Hello and welcome to Blank Canvas, part 3. If you missed the first parts, we're working with foam molds to make little creatures. In our last two, we've worked on the dinosaur incense holder. We're gonna let him dry now. And in this part, we're gonna finish up the unicorn by attaching different parts to his body. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is he needs a longer snout. So I've rolled out this piece of clay and I'm gonna attach it to the front. Now that he's set up a little bit, he's more stiff, so I can work with him a little easier and not worry so much that he's gonna get some cracks and fall apart. And his legs are attached better now. Again, I'm just scoring the front of him. Okay. Let's give his head a little bit more shape this way. Now I want his snout to set up, so I'm going to go back through his body and smooth him out a little bit. Again, trying to keep that nice pink marbling in there, because we want him to be a fancy pink unicorn. Oh, we had a leg come loose. I'll just slip and score again. It's better that it comes loose while I'm building it than in the kiln, because there's nothing I can do about it once it's in the kiln. Paintbrushes come in handy for smoothing as well, attaching these joins better. Now, because he is supposed to be a horse or a unicorn, I'm not going to smooth the legs to his body as much, because I want his short legs to have the effect of long legs. And I think that, oh, lost another leg. I think that by keeping them with an obvious join, it gives that impression. Okay, so now his snout is ready to be shaped a little bit. I'm just pushing the clay to lose that join. Okay, starting to take a little bit more of a horse face shape. I'm going to give him nostrils. One great thing about clay and tools is you can make a tool out of anything. This used to be a paintbrush. I broke it. Now it's perfect for texture. Okay, so he's got his nostrils there. I like to give him a little mouth. Okay, and we're going to attach our ears. Let's see here. Got to leave enough room for the horn. Okay. dip these in slip and mark where I want to put them. Slip and score. Okay. Now the ears look a little bit funny right now, but they need to attach to the clay better, and then I'll start shaping them. In the meantime, I'm going to make his tail. So I'm going to take the same marbled clay and re-wet it. And I'm kind of remarbling it again. So this will be full of all different layers of pink. Oops. Okay, give it a little roll, make sure it's all attached together. And then I'm going to cut out just kind of a basic flowing horsetail shape. And from there we'll sculpt it. So now I'm going to be pulling the clay. So I'm just wetting it just enough to make it slippery. I'm going to be molding it into, oh, we're going to lose a piece. Molding it into a nice tapered flow. I like to get a little flourish, and that's the base of the tail. Okay, and then I'll check it against our unicorn and see how big I want to make it. I don't want it too big, because he's got to proportionally match his short little unicorn legs. I'm going to cut it about right here. I'll taper this down just a little bit more. Okay, then we're going to attach our tail. Before I do that, I just want to smooth out a couple little bumps in here with the brayer. And I'm going to attach the tail. A nice little flow. And I'll let that set up, and then I'm going to go back through and work on his ears, which won't take long. But now that they've set up into the clay, oops, I pulled one off. They're easier to shape. Now we can decide where his eyes go. So I'm going to be using this little tip. It's hollow, so it's going to create an outline effect. See what his eyes look like there. Yep. Looks about right for a make-believe creature. Okay, I'm going to make a mane while his ears set up a little bit more. Oops. Actually, let's see here. My clay's setting up a little bit too quick, so it's becoming brittle. But actually, I think that was a happy accident. Main flow this way. Again, I'm going to slip and score. So that's the first part of the mane. Then we'll attach the second part here. And once he is sent through the bisque and ready to be glazed, I'm going to use some nice bright colors for the tail and the mane. And then the final firing, once he has a horn, is going to be gold lustered, which is like, if you remember your grandma's tea sets, they had gold rims. That's what gold luster is. Okay, just let the mane flow down. Give it a little texture. I'm going to give the tail a little texture now that it's attached better. Okay. One more go at his ears here. They're a little bit, they look like dog ears right now. Even though he's make-believe, I still want him to look like a horse. Needs a little piece of mane out the front. When I work with clay, I don't really plan a lot of things out. So you'll notice that I'm just randomly grabbing clay and seeing how things go. And that's just how I enjoy working. Every time I plan something out, it doesn't work as well as other times. Okay. Now I don't want his horn to be too pronounced, but it's still got to be a good looking horn. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll a very small little coil and split it in two. And then I'm going to twirl the two together to get the swirly unicorn horn shape. I'll show you what I mean in a second. Oops. I'm just twisting. And then you slowly twist it together, roll it together. And you got a horn. So now we'll size it right for the size of the unicorn. I think that, oh, it's a little bit too long, but not quite there. I think that's about right. And for the final part of our unicorn, we're going to score, slip, and attach. And there we go. And again, it's the same with the dinosaur. Once it dries, I can go back through and refine pieces. But until then, I can't really do much, so I'm going to let him set up. We let them dry slowly so that they don't dry too fast and crack. And then we'll eventually bisque them and then glaze fire them. Now that our pieces are finished, we're going to let them dry. And the next steps are, after this, are to fire them for the first time. This is called a bisque firing. So it's going to fire fairly hot, but not as hot as it will eventually. And we do this to remove all the water from the clay. And it lets it keep its form so that we can glaze it. And glaze is a material that's wet like our clay slip. So if we were to put our original pieces in without firing them, they stand a chance of falling apart. So then, once our piece is glazed, like I would glaze this piece, it's going to go through another kiln, much hotter, and it's going to come through like this. So glaze is full of glass materials, and they melt when it gets really high, and that's what gives us the shiny finished outside edges, and it's called vitrification. And then that's when your piece is finished. So these are different glazes that I can use. They come out just like they look on the bottle, so this will be orange, green, and yellow, and they're just painted on the surface, so they're a different kind of glaze. And then they get fired to temperature, and you end up with some nice colors. Thank you for watching. If you're interested in learning more about ceramics or pottery, come visit Medalta. They have adult and children classes that you can take to learn how to do any of this.